Perfect. Okay. Well, hello, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to our virtual season of Omaha Fashion Week. I'm Brooke Hudson. I'm the producer of OFW, and we have with us Brianna Anderson and Destiny Southern, both with the Omaha Fashion Week team. And so sorry. We are very excited to have Niccolò Sbaraglia, excuse my pronunciation, with us today from Polymoda, which Polymoda is one of the top 5 fashion schools in the world. And they have done quite a bit of research on fashion weeks in the US and landed on Omaha Fashion Week as being an organization that they wanted to partner with. So we're very honored that they are with us today. And Niccolò is going to be talking to us about how to develop a sustainable fashion line. And his background, I'll just give you kind of a top line bio on Niccolò, but he is head of commercial development for Polymoda, and he was born and raised in Florence, Italy, and that is where Polymoda is located. And he has specialized, he's an economist, and he specialized in statistics and also as a production manager dedicated to luxury accessories with a niche in product communication strategy. So I'm really excited to hear from you today, Niccolò. I will go ahead and turn it over to you and everybody. He will be speaking for about 45 minutes and then opening it up for questions at the end. Thanks so much.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for having me here today. I'm connected from Florence, Italy. It's a pleasure for me to be here. And before to start talking about Polymoda, I want to show you a video of Polymoda, just to show you the soul of our school. And then I'll come back to you. Okay, so new generation, this is, okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me very well? Okay, wonderful. So Polymoda is the most important fashion school in Italy. It's a no-profit organization. It's the 5th most important fashion school in the world. And the president of Polymoda is Mr. Ferragamo from the brand Ferragamo. The director of Polymoda is one of the most important creative directors in the world. It's Massimiliano Giornetti. He used to lead Polymoda for Ferragamo for almost 17 years. And then in the board of director of Polymoda, we have the municipality of Florence, so the mayor of Florence, and then we have the Chamber of Commerce, and we have several fashion brands, international fashion brands, Montblanc, Pucci, The majority of the masters and undergraduate courses are in collaboration with the top fashion brands as Gucci, Ferragamo, Tod's, Richmond Group, and we teach in English, and the 72% of the students are international. We have a big community, big American community in our school. I have several students from the United States. And we are located in Florence, which is the original capital of the fashion system in Europe since the Renaissance. So I'm talking about the 15th centuries. And we are located in Florence, which is also the capital of the luxury production district. In Florence, we have the French, English, Americans, and Italians fashion brands concentrated for production. So the legal headquarters are in Milan or Paris or London or New York, but the production headquarters are all here in Florence. This has allowed us to bring our students directly to the fashion brands, to the factories. They can see the collection even before to be launched in the market. That's why it's strictly forbidden to take a picture when we go to the factory. And the 100% of our professors are fashion operators like me. We work in fashion and we teach what we do. It's very practical and not theoretical school. We are very close to the industry. We have also the biggest fashion library in Europe. And it's very prestigious for us because even if we are in a very modern era where we use internet, it's really important also to use book and fashion magazine to make research. Today we are here talking about the launching and sustainable product line. So I would love to start talking to you. For me, this is a conversation, and as soon as I finish this presentation, I'm going to talk to you, so please feel free to ask me all the questions you want. And let's start talking about about sustainability. What is it, sustainability? Sustainability, of course, is a need, and we have to analyze sustainability at 360 degrees. So under the supply point of view, under the demand point of view. Otherwise, it's just a partial conversation if we are going to talk just about fashion brands. Specifically, when we talk about suppliers, so fashion brands, they should communicate much better about product and production, specifically where do they produce. Nowadays, it's very important to communicate to the potential clients where fashion brands is producing the collection in Italy, in the United States, in Russia, whatever it is. What is important is to be very clear and to explain how they produce, because we have to respect the human rights. Also, human rights, it's part of the sustainability. Many fashion brands, unfortunately, are moving the production in some part of the Asia where the human rights are not respected. And this is a big problem. We have to pay attention to this. And also, how do they produce? They use they use machinery, they produce using hands, like here in Tuscany. More or less, the Made in Italy production, it's handmade for the 70% of the production process. So this is going to change drastically the timing, is going to change drastically the production cost. So, and then which raw materials do they use? Because around this subject, there is it's full of mistakes and it's full of stereotypes, okay? Many fashion brands are using specific keywords like eco-leather, which is not realistically leather. So they have to explain the raw materials. If it's fabric, what kind of fabric, what kind of leather, if it's polyurethane, we have to communicate the production and the product. So the first 3 points here are part of the product communication. And this is going to be the perfect content communication also for social media. And then, is it possible to track their production? It's very important that fashion brands they should be able to explain everything about the suppliers. As you know, the production process is outsourced. So the majority of the fashion brands, around the 95% of the fashion brands in the world, are producing out of their brand. So they have a private contract with private factories where they produce. And they have to check what these factories are doing, because most of the time, also here in Italy, some factories are shipping part of the production in another country and they receive it back after 1-2 weeks. And most of the time, no even fashion brands are informed about this. So this is very peculiar, very particular. It's very hard to keep under control the entire production process because we need thousands of people able to check every single step of the production. And then how much do they produce? This is another important aspect, especially now after the coronavirus crisis, so the pandemic, we have to be much more conscious about also the quantity, because of course fast fashion, it's polluting the environment much more than the luxury, because they produce faster, they are constantly producing. Every week there is a new collection. This is not doable. We cannot keep going like that. We have to come back to the past, probably like in the 70s, when we had just 2 seasons, fall, winter, and spring, summer. Also, Giorgio Armani said something about this topics, about this issue, that it's time to have just 2 seasons per year. Unfortunately, marketing and communication are too much aggressive in the market. They need to communicate something every week, and they need collection every month. This is not doable anymore. We cannot do that anymore. So it's much better to keep the same collection for 6 months on the shelves in the boutique instead to change it. So quality is going to play a crucial role here, because of course, if you want to use the product as long as possible, the product must be an high-end product in terms of quality. And then where do they pay taxes? Where fashion brands are paying taxes? Unfortunately, also this point, it's very, very peculiar. Why? Because some fashion brands are opening a branch, a representative office in countries where the taxation is lower than here in Italy or France or United States, and then they compete with the rest of the fashion brands. They are producing and paying the taxes in the country of the origin. So this is legal but not ethical. So because they compete in this, aggressive market, but they don't follow the rules. In Polymoda, we are collaborating also with the financial police in order to get informed, because the new generation of the managers in fashion brands, they have to keep also this aspect under control. So as you can see, sustainability is not just the raw materials, but it's something much more complex. And what's going to happen under the demand point of view, so the potential clients. We have to analyze the consumer behavior, and we have to educate the new generation. How many products do customers buy? Do they really need to buy 10 bags per year, or maybe 20 pair of shoes per year? This is not sustainable anymore. We have to change our attitude. We have to change our behavior. We have to buy less, but better. Are they informed about the products they buy? This is another important aspect. People should be much more informed about product before even to enter in the boutique, before even to go online and to buy the product. We have to be conscious about this. And fashion brands has to be clear about product communication. So demand and supply have to meet each other, okay? And then how long did they use the product? This is another important aspect, because probably can be very silly, but it's not. We have to educate people about how to use the product. If you talk to the old generation, like my mom, which is 86-year-old, she used to be young at the end of the 60s, at the beginning of the 70s. She used to use the product much longer than the new generation. She knew how to use the product. She used to take care about the bags, the leather, about the shoes, also because at that time the world was not rich like now. So the consumption nowadays is much more aggressive than before, and it's time to go back. And then how much are they willing to pay for a sustainable product? This is another important aspect. All the time I talk to my students, they complain about fashion brands. They say, professor, look what's going to happen with this brand. Look what they did. And I answer to them, and what do you do for the world? Which is your behavior? Are you able to spend money for sustainable product? Because sustainability for the moment is very expensive. The real sustainable product, it's crazy expensive. I'm not talking about what communication and marketing are communicating about sustainable product. I'm talking about a real production process. I work in fashion systems since 2007, and I used to work for the top fashion brands, especially for Gucci, Saint Laurent, Alexander McQueen here in Tuscany. As a bags producer, as a leather jacket producer, we try to develop sustainable product, and it's crazy expensive because we have to select the high-end materials. We have to treat the raw materials in a specific way without using chemical product. This is going to take time. And as you know, time, it's money. So realistically, sustainable product is an expensive product. Are you ready to spend money for sustainable product? Okay, so we have to be realistic. Sustainability is expensive, and it takes time. It takes time to have a conscious and sustainable production. Why? Because it's not just to change the machinery in the factories. It's not like that. I mean, this is just the 20% of the story. We have to change the mentality of the employees, the mentality of the owner of the factories. It's a new approach. So we have to go through the education. We have to educate the new generation. We have to educate the clients. We have to educate the fashion operators. So education is the new sustainability. And sustainability is the new luxury. I suggest you to buy less, but to buy better. I know, I mean, I'm not a rich person. I cannot spend 5,000 euro or $6,000 for a bag every month. I perfectly understand it. But maybe I can buy 2,500 euro bag one times per year or every 2 years. I prefer to spend on something really high-end in terms of quality instead to buy every month a cheap bag, because cheap bag, it's polluting the environment. And buy timeless product. The importance of design is true. The last point here, it's very relevant. When you want to launch a collection in the market, first of all, you have to express yourself. You don't have to copy Italian brands, French brands, English brands. You have to express yourself. But pay attention about design of the product, because the design has to be timeless. This is my suggestion. In this way, the product is actual, even after 2 years, 3 years. It can be even iconic product, like many leather bags, like the Birkin bags, like the candy bags, like the Jackie Kennedy bags invented by Gucci in the 60s. It's still actual because the design is very simple, we say in Europe. It's very linear. Like a Ferrari, this is not just for fashion, it's also for interior design in general. Okay, sustainable marketing and sustainable communication. So it's not just about demand and supply. It's also about the role of the marketing and the role of the marketing and the communication. Marketing communication should be, they should inform users. We cannot use marketing just to brainwash potential clients or just to get our goal, like we used to do in the 90s. Marketing has to support the reality, and the communication too. The communication too, absolutely. For example, many people are still attacking leather. I don't understand why. In Italy, we recycle leather. We use leather recycled 100% from food industry. We stopped kill animals in the 90s in this country. We are recycling leather from food industry. We are not even part of the conversation between vegan and the people that love meat. We are one step back. we recycle what we found in the market. When people will stop eating meat, fashion system in Italy will stop recycling leather. For the moment, leather is largely the most sustainable product in the market, much more than cotton. In order to coloring, to dyeing a cotton t-shirt, you need at least 3,000 liters of water, and you cannot recycle that water. And trust me, here in Tuscany, we have the most advanced production district in the world, fashion production district in the world. As I told you before, that's why Givenchy, it's a French brand, but it's here. Givenchy, it's from 2 kilometers from my apartment here, the factory. Same things for Alexander McQueen. Is an English fashion brand, but the production, it's here. So because here we have the most advanced production district, but trust me, we are trying to do our best, but it's just the beginning. So the sustainable environment will be like that. We can define a sustainable environment maybe in 20 years. So pay attention, because marketing and communication in this moment are saying that eco leather or synthetic fur are sustainable product. That is not true. Synthetic fur is largely the most polluting product in the market. No way. When you make it, and even worse, when you try to recycle it. Don't buy synthetic fur. Don't buy eco leather, doesn't exist, or vegan leather does not exist for the moment. It's polyurethane. It's plastic spread out on canvas. Plastic. Even if it's recycled plastic, remember that the plastic transformation is polluting the environment, even when you try to recycle it. Remember that in the ocean, we have plastic island, not leather island. And I'm a professor. I'm not receiving money from the lobby of the leather sectors, okay? And yes, we have in a small district here in Tuscany. Also in California, there is a small district of vegan leather producer. But for the moment, it's very theoretical. They can produce a very small amount of vegan leather. If you think that a brand like Louis Vuitton, Gucci are producing almost from 8 to 10 millions leather goods per year. Of course, it's not possible to find that raw materials in the market. Vegan leather cannot be used for this quantity of production because we are not ready. So sustainability has to be a goal, because for the moment, we are at the very beginning. It's much more a storytelling for Instagram than the reality. I know that this topic is very peculiar. Many of my students at the beginning, they start to attack me. They say, but Professor, are you sure about this? Because they thought that leather was the worst product in the market, but it's not like that. And I'm surprised. I'm surprised when many fashion brands, even important, and I'm not going to say the name because I'm very professional, they attack leather and they push polyurethane, which is plastic, and they misinform the new generation. This is not acceptable. This is not acceptable anymore. Luxury brands versus luxury product. Luxury brand means luxury product. Most of the time, no. Unfortunately, it's not like that. Many people in the world are mistaken. You know, they think that the reputation of the brand is the same than the reputation of the product. Most of the time, the reputation of the brand is really high, but the product is not at the same level. So maybe it's a luxury brand, but it's not a luxury product. So there is a discrepancy between the brand and the product. I'm Italian, and for me, fashion brands start with product, and the brand is the consequence of the product, and not vice versa, for example. So pay attention. because if you use just the name of the brand as a driver to buy a product, it's not enough. I told you, you have to get informed about the product, not just about the history of the brand. It's not enough. For me, luxury is the opposite of vulgarity, as Coco Chanel says. It's not the opposite of poverty. So the idea that luxury must be crazy expensive, it's a wrong idea. It's very 90s idea. It's completely wrong. Luxury become expensive just when we select expensive raw materials like gold, diamonds, for example. But we can produce luxury even using wood, for example. So luxury is something related to the rarity, to the quality, to the exclusivity. And when I'm talking about rarity, I'm saying, I want to mean that if the product it's rare, it's exclusive. If you can buy the same bag in Los Angeles, New York, Florence, Milan, Paris, Berlin, London, Tokyo, it means that it's not rare. It's everywhere. What it's discriminating is just the price. But price is something related to the marketing, not something related to the quality of the product necessarily, just in some cases. And quality is an important, everybody are talking about quality, and then nobody, I mean, just few people are able to recognize what quality is. It's very hard to recognize quality. Quality, first of all, in terms of product, in terms of raw materials. So you have to be able to understand the raw materials, fabric, textile, leather, and what kind of leather. Even the python leather is recycled from food industry, and you can find different level of quality in the market. So you have to get informed first. That's what we are trying to do in Polymoda. We are trying to inform the new generation about quality. What is quality, which is not related to the name of the brand. It's something inside of the raw materials. I used to make quality control for Fendi, and I move my eyes from here to here. So when I have to make the quality control, I use my hands, and I perceive the quality with the hands first and with the eyes after. And then exclusivity. When you decide to launch a collection in the market, you have to launch the collection for a specific target, not for everyone. Exclusivity means that this collection is done specifically for this kind of women or men, for a 40 years old women, business women, or for 20 years old women. So you have to keep in mind the characteristic of the target. You cannot just project the collection in name of creativity. Creativity doesn't work anymore alone. It's part of the fashion process. But first of all, creativity is not fantasy. It's part of the fantasy, but it's something completely different. Okay. So exclusivity means to study the customer needs and the customer wants, and you have to offer them an answer. Luxury is also tradition. The tradition is important because it's when you transfer the know-how from one generation to another generation, like in the United States, like here in Italy, when the father is teaching to the son or the daughter, or the grandfather to the grandchild. But it's also true that when you transfer your know-how, you transfer everything, even the mistakes. When you produce by hands, you're going to produce a not standard product. Why? Because of course, since we are not robots and we use machine, we can make a little mistakes that makes the product unique in the world. So when the product is handmade, it's unique because it's not done by a machine. When you produce using machine, all the products are equal to the same than the other one. I don't want to buy a product like that. I want to have something very exclusive. And we have to pay attention because in some cases it's a mistake. In some cases it's a symbol of authenticity because it's handmade. People will remember of you if you give them the product right or the right product. And it's true. The right product in terms of what? In terms of aesthetic or in terms of functionality? It really depends, because you have to study the culture of the market that you decide to launch your collection. For example, I spent 8 years of my life in the United States. I learned many things from Americans. And there are many different, I mean, they are different than us here in Italy. For example, Italians tends to give the priority to the aesthetics, no? In Germany, Germans prefer to give the priority to functionality. Think about the German cars or the Italian cars. Forget fashion for a moment. German cars are much more comfortable than the Italian cars. It's true. But the Italian cars, in terms of design and performance, are more than the Germans one. If you try to drive a Ferrari or Lamborghini, they are not comfortable. They are extreme car. Wonderful. They go very fast, but trust me, when you drive, you cannot see the front of the car. You cannot see the back. Try to use a Lamborghini to go to the supermarket. It's impossible. You destroy the car. Try to use Porsche to go to the supermarket. You can do it, because Porsche is the same design since a long time ago. It's very functional car, okay? So same things. When I used to live to New York, my American friends are very functional people, very functional. American women prefer to have a big bag with pockets. Of course, I cannot generalize. It's just an example, of course. Italian women and French women prefer to have a very stylish bags, maybe. So I'm not saying here what is correct, what is incorrect. I'm saying you have to study the culture of the market you decide to launch your collection. Aesthetic and functionality works in different way. Absolutely. In this slide, we can summarize I don't want to say the entire fashion system, but how to make a collection. So we start with creativity. Creativity is going to get inspiration from some social cultural trend in the world, for example. This social cultural trend in the world become an input for a creative person. This input become an idea. The idea become a product. But before to draw the collection, I suggest you to ask yourself, who's going to be the final client, the ID client, 40 years old woman or 20 years old woman, because they have completely different lifestyle. And the occasion of use of this bag, for example, let's say I'm going to draw in a bags collection. The occasion of use is going to be for every day, so daily use, or just a weekender bag, or just a special bag to be worn 10 times per year, because this is going to change drastically the technology involved, technology in order to produce the collection. If I have to produce a daily use bag, I'm going to use for sure calf leather, because it's the most durable product materials. If I have to produce a bag just for some special occasion, I can use lamb leather, which is much more delicate, more fragile, you know? So the occasion of use, the ID client, the technology involved are going to drive me on the right direction before to draw the collection. So before to draw the collection, I'm going to project the collection. Okay, and then the secret of the Italian factories. Why I decided to insert this slide? Because the luxury can be produced just in small factories. It's very hard to produce luxury in a huge factory with 1,000 employees. This is the secret of the luxury in Italy. In Italy, we have as many but small factory. I mean, we have from 15 to 50 employees. Okay, 50 employees in Italy for the Italian standard. I mean, it's very big, very big. That's why it's very hard to produce luxury in the Chinese factories, because they have like 1,000 employees. And trust me, I've been several times in China. They know very well how to produce luxury. If they want to produce luxury, they know how to do that. They are expert, but they're not producing in this moment because in this moment, the market wants from China the mass production. So I suggest you to select the right suppliers. In order to have a high-end quality product, you have to have an high-end, in terms of quality, suppliers. So you have to be able to recognize an high-end factories with the high-end employees inside. My suggestion is to select a small factories with few employees, really high-end in terms of performance, in terms of know-how, okay? And you will see that the final output will be great. And now what's going to change after the pandemic? How he will change the luxury system? Let's see what's going to happen under the demand and the supply point of view. That, as you know, they are the main protagonists in the market. No, demand and supply cross each other in the equilibrium point, determining the quantity and the price of your collection. What's going to happen now after the pandemic? I cannot predict the future, but I can try to see what's going to happen under the demand point of view. Prospect, so potential client will buy less but more expensive items. So what does it mean? It means that probably now it's the right moment to launch more expensive more expensive collection in the market. More expensive if the quality of the raw materials is high, not just more expensive, have a price strategy. Because with the high-end price strategy, you don't go anywhere if the quality of the product is not high. Prospect will tend to buy more timeless products, so the design will be more important than ever. Quality will play a crucial role, so please pay attention about the quality of the raw materials. Spend times, fly around the world, go to the fair, leather fair, fabric fair, come in here in Europe. You can come here, even if in the United States, you can find very good quality raw materials in terms of denim, cotton, for example. Leather is so-and-so, but the quality of the fabric, it's good, it's good. So spend time making research. Clients will be much more informed about the characteristic of the product, so more demanding. So please offer them an explanation about your collection. Don't spend time and money for a celebrity. It doesn't work anymore to have Rihanna or some top celebrity to push your collection. You have just to communicate to the potential clients what you do and how you do it. And then I think that the e-commerce will work much more for mass market than luxury, because people want to go in person, especially now after the pandemic that we spent 2 years in front of the computer. I think people will come back to the boutique. They will come back to ask information to the shop assistant. They want to be informed about this, especially before to spend 3,000 euro or $3,000 in a bag or shoes or jacket. I think they don't do that in the e-commerce. They want to touch the product before. In Europe, for sure, it's already like that. And at the supply point of view, what's going to happen? I think fashion brands will produce back in the countries of the region. So I think that American fashion brands, European fashion brands, they will stop to produce in Asia. China, Cambodia, Vietnam, they will come back. So probably it's also the good time to open a factory. I will invest money in this project, honestly. Brands will start training their own clients face-to-face. It's true. They will use the boutique to do that, not the tutorial in YouTube. I think that the shop assistant will be the new ambassador of the brand, communicating in the boutique face-to-face with the client. So shop assistant has to be very informed about the characteristic of the product, not just about quantity that you have in the store or the price. They have to be prepared. They have to explain to potential clients, hey, look, this bag, it's made in Italy, it's made in Brooklyn, New York, with this leather recycled, with this fabric, the hardware that comes from this area of the world, they have to inform and they have to educate the clients. The distribution channel for luxury will be more offline than online because people want to touch before to buy, as I told you before. So many people are still thinking, oh, look, after the pandemic, the e-commerce will fly, they will reach the peak. No, it's the opposite. It's completely the opposite. It's the opposite. People want to go in the boutique, especially in Europe. If you decide to launch your collection in Europe, for example, in Europe, it's part of the lifestyle to have a shopping. I'm going to call my friend. Hey, let's go in the center of the city. We stop to get the coffee and then we go in this boutique because I want to see this collection. You know, it's part of the lifestyle. It's not just to go there to buy a product. Okay. So the boutique will be the new center of fashion system. The boutique will be the new small fashion school where people go there and they go get informed about product and production. And the store will be much more an experiential place where customer can have a personal growth inside. And then the craftsmanship will be enhanced and will rediscover a new youth. So the artisanal product, all this kind of product will be the new protagonist. Doesn't matter the quantity. For me, the goal is not to increase the brand. For me, the goal is to produce a high-end product. And there is a break-even point in production. I mean, if you want to make money in fashion, it's not the right moment. And it's even not the right sector anymore. In the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s. My suggestion is produce a small quantity, really high-end. If you're going to get an extra demand, I'm sorry, they will buy the next collection. The goal is not to produce a big quantity. The goal is to produce high-end quality collection, sustainable product with a reasonable price. That's my point. Okay, now, what time is it? I think we have time for answer and questions, right?
Yeah.
I
We
mean,
have about 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Yes. Yes, you did perfect.
Let me invite you to the next open day in Polymoda. It's going to be the 17th of March. It's going to be online. You can get all the information on polymoda.com. Come and visit us because it's interesting. Please, now, if we have some questions, let me. Okay, I'm going to interrupt the share here. You can even open your camera and your microphone and you can talk to me if you want.
We do have a few questions already in the chat that came up during the call.
Okay. Yes.
I can read them off to you. Sophia Nato says, do you have any advice on how to inform people who may be not interested in fashion or the impact of their clothing purchases? Do you think that it can stay an individual effort, or do companies need to greatly reduce their production?
Company have to do that. Fashion brands has to invest money on this. They have to educate. They have to feel. They have to be conscious. Fashion brands must be conscious about the role they have in the market. That's why they have to educate the new generation, but also the old generation. So fashion brands, they have to invest money in communication, in the right communication. They have to use the collection as an excuse to inform the clients. This is my opinion. I hope I answered to your question. Oh, look, there is a mama with a baby here. Brooke, nice to meet you. I have a baby too. So lovely this. I have two babies. They are sleeping. They are close to my room. One, she's 3 years old, and the other one is 9 months.
Oh, so sweet.
He's a typical Italian terrorist. It's like, you know, hyperactive. Anyway, please, let's go with another question.
The next question is from Lily Park, who asks, is cactus leather any different than vegan leather for the environment?
Sorry, what you said, the first part of the sentence?
Yes, is cactus leather, so made from the cactus plant, different?
The cactus plant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I heard about this. The point is this, the quantity. The idea, it's great. Don't get me wrong. It's like the leather from grapes, you know, and the leather from orange. It's true. But the problem is this. If a big fashion brand is asking, you know, for these raw materials, you can just answer if I mean, you can just produce a few quantity of this product, because for the moment the technology doesn't allow us to produce big quantity with cactus leather, grapes leather. Maybe in 30 years, maybe in 20 years, I hope. But for the moment, it's just theoretical. I mean, for a capsule collection, you can do that. You understand what I'm saying?
Perfect.
Okay.
The next question is from Francesca, who asks, would you explain the process for recycling leather? Where do you source it from?
Okay, we source from different parts of the world. For example, lamb leather from the Middle East, because the Arabs are big fan of lamb leather. So even fur from lamb. I suggest you to, if you really want to buy fur, for example, buy lamb fur, because the lamb fur is recycled from food industry. And then we can transform the lamb fur with zebra effect, leopard effect, thanks to the most advanced technology. Here in Tuscany, we have several factories that are doing that. And you don't kill any tiger, leopard, or whatever it is. Understand what I'm saying? So we recycle leather from different parts of the world, cow from Europe, from United States. I mean, the majority of, probably you already know, but the most famous automotive, Americans automotive, like Chevrolet, they are all name of cow, you know? Since Americans are big fan of meat, we recycle a lot of leather from United States. It's even good, the American leather. And then lamb from Australia, kangaroo leather from Australia, because the government in Australia has to kill certain numbers of kangaroo, because when the kangaroo jump on the land, they are destroying the land. So they have to keep a certain numbers of kangaroo in the entire territory of Australia. That's why they kill it. Fashion system is just recycling a small part of the leather, because food industry is much bigger than the fashion industry. Okay. There is Francesca. Francesca is doing like this. Okay, Francesca. Okay, Francesca. Wonderful. Okay.
The next question is from Riley, who says, what brands who are coming up or small in particular have you seen doing the post-pandemic fashion correctly?
Okay. Small brand? No, I mean, there are emerging brands performing very well, but I cannot say, I don't know where they produce. There are fashion brands like Fendi, which is honest, Hermes, which is honest. They really produce respecting the environment. They are really trying to do their best. And what I can say, well, see, probably this one, the one that came out in my mind. We will see what they're going to do next year. I'm very curious. After the pandemic, I want to see the next collection, the 2024, 2025. I'm very curious about what the selection of the raw materials they will use, and also the communication they will use. We will see. Other question? There is Brooke.
Yes, I have one question. So I loved how you started this conversation off talking a little bit about human rights. I have a degree in human rights and spent 10 years over in Thailand, and that's where we produced all of our collection of our handbags.
Wonderful.
And so through, like you said, through a small artisan kind of co-op, which is about 30 women. But my question in particular, since you brought up human rights, I would love to hear your thoughts on, with the EU and business and human rights becoming such more of an important and having more of a, I guess, an important role within some legislation, especially in the EU, what are you seeing some of the bigger luxury houses doing to address their supply chain and the human rights impacts? How is that changing and shaping business?
Yeah, this is a very smart. From this question, I can clearly understand that you are a smart woman, because this is the point. As I said in the first part of my conversation, in Polymoda, we are collaborating with the financial police. The financial police is trying to keep under control the production system in Italy, not just from the Italian fashion brands, French, English, everyone, okay? And Brooke, this is very hard. This is very hard, realistically. It's basically, in this moment, it's impossible to track the entire production system, okay? I have a good news. Polymoda became advocate of United Nations for the human rights too. So now we are partnered with United Nations. We are launching the new Master in International Fashion Business in collaboration with United Nations. I will be in New York at the end of March in the United Nations office, talking about the human rights too, the equity, also because, you know, women, girls, and in Europe, we are working very hard for this. Italy, Germany, France, and England are the leader in this moment, try to clean the entire system. The problem is when they move the production in Asia, there is no chance for us to check the production system because it's another country. We cannot send our police there because, of course, they don't have authority there. So you understand, Brooke, what I'm saying? There is a physiological limit. We have to be aligned at all the countries in the world. We should move all together with this, because if just United States and Europe, it's not enough. It's not enough. So fashion brands are investing money in the blockchain, but for the moment it's theoretical. But they started, honestly, they have started. I have to say the truth. They are trying to clean and to show what they're doing. So they're trying to put on the spot, okay, the production. That's why the product communication will be the new content communication. More than celebrity, as I told you before. People are sick and tired. They want to know where they go to produce, especially the new generation. Brooke, did I answer to your question? Partially. Okay, Brooke.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, I will wait for you in Italy, eh? Every one of you.
Looking forward.
Okay. Okay. Other question?
We have some in the chat, one from Sammy who asks, what are some ways you see the industry moving towards embracing safer and cleaner production for processing leather in terms of tanning and dyeing? Where do you see a space for plant-based leather alternatives?
Okay, an alternative of leather, you say this?
Yes, plant-based leather alternative.
Yeah, I mean, one step at a time. If we still have leather in the market, why you have to invent something new with the risk of polluting the environment? First of all, let's convince people to lower the use of meat in the world, because it's not, I'm not vegetarian, but I perfectly understand their point of view. When vegetarian and vegan people say that meat is not even healthy because the cancer, because it's true. So first of all, let's lower the use of meat in the world. Until that moment, we have to recycle leather because, as I told you, leather is in the environment independently from fashion system. I complain when people, when fashion is killing mink because they kill mink just for fashion purpose. I'm not going to buy mink. I buy leather because Italian leather, I know is more expensive than the rest of the leather in the world, but there is the Italian stamp, which is guaranteed from the Italian government. So I know that it's recycling from food industry. So I'm going to buy the Italian leather. When people will stop eat meat and the fashion system will stop recycling leather, we can launch in a new trend and we can start to use leather coming from plant, for example. If you talk about leather, if you talk about textile and fabric, is not my sector, but okay, I agree with this too. Is another raw materials. We are launching now with Lee Edelcourt, which is from Netherlands, is largely the most important trend forecaster in the world. We are launching now the new master. It takes 2 years, about from farm to fabric to fashion. This master is going to be full dedicated about the use of the plant, how to transform from the seed, okay, how can be transformed in a fabric. And this is the new frontier. Okay. Other question?
So the first part of that question from Sammy is, what are some ways that you see the industry moving towards embracing safer and cleaner production for processing leather in terms of tanning and dyeing?
Okay, very important. Here in Tuscany now, we are not using metal anymore. We use vegetarian tannins extracted by the trees, especially the mimosa trees. A big supplier is South America. So in order to stop the decomposition of the leather, we have to block the protein. In order to block the protein, you can use chromium. A chromium is still good, is still acceptable, because we eat chromium every day, even in a banana or salad. We have more chromium there than in the leather. But the best way, it's the vegetarian tannins, it's the vegetable leather. It's much more expensive. I know it takes much more time to be produced, and at least 1.5 months to have the leather completely tanned. This is the way we are doing now. Then there is a lot of research, since it's very rich sector. So fashion brands are investing money, making research. And we have a free metal leather tanned in a good way. So it's already advanced, this technology. If you can take a look on Google, Tuscany tanneries, you can get a lot of information about that. And they are real, because they are certified by the Italian government. So it's not a private company, you know, they want to get benefit from this.
That's wonderful. We have a question from Neil that says, what advice do you have for a younger generation that wants to be conscious of sustainability in their own wardrobe, but might not be able to afford some of the brands that offer sustainable lines? How and when do you see sustainable fashion becoming more common and cost effective?
This is going to take times, a lot of times. First of all, what I want to suggest to the new generation is, please stop to complain. Stop to attack fashion brands, be consistent, because I see many of our students coming with the taxi, with the cab, they use cab, they have 2 iPhone, okay? They buy synthetic fur, they buy polyurethane. Without technology, they feel lost. So you have to be consistent. Don't take it personal, because I'm talking like this. Remember that I'm Italians, and Italians are talking very, so sometimes we sound aggressive, but we are not. It's just our style. And I suggest you to buy less, as I told you before. Buy less, be informed. Before to buy product, you have to get informed. Online, you enter in the boutique, and if the shop assistant is not going to answer you, you're not going to buy the product. And you go in another boutique. I know it's an emotional, you know, when you go, maybe you are walking on the sidewalk, you are in the street, you stop in front of the windows display in a boutique, you see a beautiful product, you know, it's going to be an emotional attraction. You say, oh my God, look how beautiful it is. Let me go and let me buy it. No, stop it. Before to do that, get informed. Because maybe in terms of design is amazing, but in terms of materials and raw materials is not. We have to change. Before to attack fashion brands, we have to change. If we stop buying not sustainable product, fashion brands will stop producing not sustainable product. You understand what I'm saying? We have to start first as a client. And then you will see fashion brands will follow us.
So
Okay.
Brooke from Omaha Fashion Week writes, I'm curious about the intersection of the trend towards the vegan vegetarian lifestyle and a push for more sustainable fashion.
And okay, Duffy says thank you. You're welcome. Okay, sorry, Brianna, can you repeat me
Of
the
course.
sentence?
Brooke says, I'm curious about the intersection of the trend towards the vegan vegetarian lifestyle and a push for more sustainable fashion.
It depends what you mean with this question. It depends. What you mean? I mean, if vegetarian and vegan people can buy leather, they should buy leather. Is this the sense of the question?
Yeah, so I was just thinking, we're talking a lot about leather goods, and the first thing that my mind went to was if I was a vegan or a vegetarian, how would I feel about the ethics of buying leather? There are people who have concerns about animal rights.
You must buy leather, especially if you are vegetarian, you must buy leather, but pay attention in which part of the world it's coming. If you can, I mean, if I'm not here, celebrating the made in Italy, I don't really care. As I told you, I professionally grew up in the United States. So, but the made in Italy leather, for sure, it's 100% recycled. If you are vegetarian and vegan, you have to help the environment. You have to buy leather. You don't have to buy a substitute. So when you hear eco leather or eco, from eco-sustainable leather, it's not true. It's plastic. Don't buy plastic. If you buy a fast fashion product for $3 retail price, it means there is something wrong. Because if the retail price is $3 or $5 or $10, it means that the production cost is 50 cents. And if the production cost is 50 cents, it's what Brooke said before about the human rights. If the production cost is 50 cents, it means that the labor cost is 50 cents. It means that it's produced in Cambodia using baby. So stop buying disposable product. Stop buying fast fashion. Of course, now this session is recorded, so I cannot tell you the name of the brand, fast fashion brand, but you are smart enough to get, oh, look, another beautiful baby. I'm so happy that these classes with baby. Look, the new generation. We have to live to them in a new world. Yeah. That's the part. This is the soul of this conversation between me and you. Don't buy disposable product. Ask yourself, if the price of this product is $5, probably, if I buy this product, I'm not respecting the human rights in some part of the world. It's like that.
Yeah, I was just curious how you build the case for people who are vegetarian or vegan to buy those leather products, and you explained that perfectly.
Education. We have to educate. That's what I'm saying, because there is a big prejudice on the use of leather, for example. And so education is the new luxury, and is the new sustainability. That's what I'm saying. We have students approaching Polymoda. They are 19, 20 years old, and at the very beginning, they complain a lot about leather. At the end of the course, they realized that they were not well informed. Good question, eh? The audience really asked me for good question, very smart question. Congratulations. It means that you are informed. You are informed. Okay, do we have other question or what?
We do. We have one more from Gretchen. She says, do you feel like there has been significant progress in terms of influencing more brands throughout the world to become more sustainable?
Yeah, yes, definitely yes. The answer is true. The answer is like that. Fashion brands are becoming much more conscious. I'm collaborating with them every day. Every day they are coming to Polymoda, and also as a professional person, privately, I'm collaborating with them. It's true, they are really working. That's not just in terms of communication, but they are renewing the production district, they are changing machinery, they are educating and training the employees of the factory. And yes, it's true, they are doing that. When the system will be perfect, I don't know. When, it's very hard to predict the future. And again, we have to go in the same direction altogether, not just some fashion brands or some countries. So the new goal is to re-educate everyone.
I have a question. How would you encourage us to educate our friends who might not be interested in fashion to learn more about sustainability?
Okay, if you are young enough, but it's not true, even if you are not young enough, you can go to a school. If you don't want to go to the school, you have access to the online education. Of course, you have to select the right educator, because otherwise, as I told you before, I'm very surprised to see famous fashion brands misinformation the new generation, getting prize around the world about sustainability, and they don't produce sustainable product. I'm referring in particular to one name, which is from London. I hope you're gonna get the name of this brand by yourself. I'm stupefied. I'm shocked about how they wash the brain of the people, talking about sustainability, attacking leather, and they produce bag in plastic. Seriously, it's not acceptable. As a professor, it's not acceptable anymore. So, for example, you manage the Oman Fashion Week. You have responsibilities on this. You don't have just to show the collection of your country. You have, for example, to provide with class like this from other professional people around the world, and to educate your audience, and to have even different opinions, because with different opinions, we can grow each other. Brianna, did I answer to your question?
Yes, wonderful. I think education can go a long way. It's interesting to converse with people who don't have any interest in fashion about, not buying fast fashion brands and things like that.
Because people are still thinking that fashion is just the fashion show with the models going back and forth on the catwalk. But that is just the 3% of the fashion system. I mean, our students go to the museum to study the history, the Renaissance, to get inspiration from the back. In Polymoda, we study psychology, we study sociology, we study economics. Otherwise, you cannot interpret the world. Fashion is constantly getting inspiration from the social cultural trend. If fashion, oh my God, I'm watching myself in the screen and I'm moving the hands in the typical Italian way. Sorry. Anyway, what I'm saying is this. If fashion is getting inspiration from fashion, there is something wrong. It doesn't work like that. Fashion has to get inspiration from other sectors, okay? And you don't have to copy what other fashion brands are doing. I'm sick and tired to see Italian fashion brands around the world. I bring my student in Stockholm in Sweden. I brought my students in Copenhagen, in Denmark, to see the emerging local brand. I don't want to see Gucci, Yves Saint Laurent, Fendi. I know them. I know they are brilliant. I know. I want to see local emerging brand with their own identity. You are very lucky. You are Americans. You are super lucky. You are a mix of culture all together. So you can talk about everything. Think about how lucky you are. So you have just to get inspiration from your DNA, which is a mix of DNA. That's why you're lucky. Express yourself in this way without copying the French fashion brands, the Italian fashion brands. So
I love that. I'm fired up.
sorry, you disappear. I say again, you disappear. You are frozen for a while.
I love what you had to say about our own American DNA and the pride we should take in that. That is awesome. Thank you.
It's true. That is true. You're welcome, but it's true. As I told you, I know United States very well. I used to travel in your wonderful country, and that's what I got. You are very lucky because you are a mix of culture. It's true. Okay.
Well, it looks like we've answered all the questions. Is there anything
good.
else? Yeah, and we've gone over about 20 minutes. So thank you, Niccolò, for sticking around.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
What a
It's
fascinating
pleasure.
conversation. Yes,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm gonna wait for you in Florence, in Italy. Okay, with your babies. Everybody, also with the babies. We need babies in this country. Oh, look at the baby.
Hi, Charlotte.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So what I can say, thank you very much for this nice conversation with you. Say hello to United States, big hug to every one of you, and we stay in touch.
Thank you.
Niccolò, have a great evening.
Thank you very much. Ciao.